Hi everyone, welcome to our daily power, the Native Wellness Power Hour. My name is Jillene, and this is Will. And today,
hi everybody. Whoops, not in the camera, but.
And today we're doing just a cooking demonstration. And we're going to make a yummy meal of. We're going to start with dessert first because that'll take the longest to make. But we're going to have elk sliders and zucchini. A zucchini dish, a salad, and a dessert. And today everything is from the garden or things that we've picked or gathered or whatever. So we want to welcome you. Today we're in, this is our week 23 of the Native Wellness Power Hour. So we started back in March, on March 21st. And we started out going 7 days a week, and then we cut back to 5 days a week. But this is the Native Wellness Institute's response to the pandemic. And we knew that and already traumatized people would be re-traumatized with the pandemic. And so we wanted to offer just an anchor for folks. We wanted to offer daily programming that would be uplifting, where people would learn and laugh and share and get tips and tools for your own wellness and healing journeys as you're staying home in the pandemic. So we've had
and
all...
hands up to you, to those that are, and hands up to those that are on the front line out there working. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we give thanks for everybody out there being essential workers and keeping things moving, and we just send our prayers to all the families that have been impacted through deaths, or family members that are impacted with COVID, and our prayers go out to you as well. So we're gonna dig right in, and we're gonna start with the dessert first because that'll take the longest to bake. So Will's gonna start out with that.
Good day, everybody. Will Penn. My tribes are the Squaxin tribe and the Quileute tribe, both people of the water. The Quileute tribe's ocean-going society, whalers, salmon people, and today we're going to be doing a berry cobbler, and it's super easy, super simple to make. And what I really like about this dessert is you can use those not those veggies, but those fruits that have been sitting in your fruit bowl for a little bit, no one's eaten, and you can just, before they go too bad, you can just make a berry cobbler out of them. It's super simple to make and super delicious. Last time I made it, I had plums, nectarines, peaches, apples, just stuff that was getting a little bit too soft. Nobody wanted to eat them, so I made a crumble out of it, or a crisp out of it. But the ingredients are sugar and brown sugar. This is raw sugar, and then brown sugar, organic raw sugar.
Cane sugar, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Then 2 bowls of oatmeal and cinnamon. And then for your, if you're going to use lots of berries, you get add a little bit of thickener to it. Today I'm going to be using cornstarch, and you can use flour, or you can use whatever thickener that you like to use. Then it calls for 12 tablespoons of butter. I have 8 here, and then I cut down on the fat. I'm using coconut oil, which is a better fat for us. Then I'm just gonna...
what kind of berries?
The berries, these berries are boysenberries, and these are from Jalene's dad's garden. These are from last year, and like I said, you can use whatever you want to. You can use fresh fruit. Fresh fruit is always tastier. Fresh berries is always tastier. But these are going to be just as tasty though.
Yeah. So during berry season, we just simply put them in a freezer bag and then stick them in the freezer, and then they're easy to use we put them in pancakes or make desserts and stuff with them. We also had fresh rhubarb, but we forgot.
Oh no, I still got some.
Okay, so I can get the fresh rhubarb out. So again, we're trying to make everything from the garden today. So he's going to mix the rhubarb with the berries. So the berries are naturally sweet already, so it doesn't need a lot of sugar in the mix itself. And the rhubarb is a little bit more tart, right? And
yeah,
so,
yeah. And for the rhubarb, I don't know if anyone's seen an actual rhubarb plant, but it's kind of like a big old collard green. And you don't eat the leafy part, and you don't eat the roots. And but you eat the part that looks like the celery on it.
And it's a super nice mixture between the tart rhubarb and then the sweet berries, and then with a nice crumble on top. So he'll mix that up. Do you want me to put the berries in here?
Yeah, yes. No. The bottom of the crumble has to be in that.
Oh, okay.
But you can put the starch in there and stir up the berries.
Put the
Or
starch in
cut
the
up-
berries?
Yeah, or cut up the rhubarb.
So when you take berries at the freezer, like not blueberries, but these kind of berries that are juicier and don't have such a hard outer layer like blueberries, you'll see at the bottom like all the juice that's in there, all that yummy juice. So that's what he's talking about mixing the berries up with the cornstarch. It'll just help thicken it a little bit when you bake it. And later in the show, I'm actually using the juice of berries for a vinaigrette for salad. So do you want all of this in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is about 2 tablespoons, I would say, of cornstarch.
Cornstarch.
So I'll mix that up, and again, that just helps to thicken it.
Yeah, I can put all my dry ingredients in here to get this going.
And then we're using different kind of berries. So these are boysenberries. And then we're also using blackberries today. And then we're using the juice of them too. So this is our mixer. I've always wanted one of these mixers, and several years ago, my good friend Jackie Blackbird got that for me for Christmas. So I love it. We use it all the time. And then I will. It's nice.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know what happened to all of our knives. Oh yeah, this is worse. You need sharp knives when you cook. So when we were growing up, I loved to eat, we would just eat rhubarb just like this, like celery, because I like sour things. We also had, we were just talking about this the other day, we picked gooseberries too. And I never even knew that you're supposed to wait for gooseberries to get like red, because we always picked them when they were green, because I like the sourness of them. But the berries, like I said, will definitely mix with the tartness of the rhubarb, and it kind of gives it a little kick. And we want to be grateful for my parents,
And up to them.
Jack and Joel. They're always bringing us. We always say we share a garden with them, and it's mainly my dad doing most of the work. All right, so is that enough?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for doing it.
Mm-hmm. So we try to be really organized in our freezer. Like we have this, well, we have several freezers, but we have these dividers that go into our freezer, and so we can put like the meat, different kind of meats in different parts, and then like our berries and veggies in a different part, so they're easily accessible. Okay, so the berry mixture is ready. So we're not adding any additional sugar to the berry and the rhubarb mix, because we're allowing the natural sweetness of the berries to come through, and there's plenty of sugar in the crumble part, so that will make it sweet. And we make it less sweet too, because people usually have it with ice cream, and the ice cream adds that additional sugar as well. So.
Okay, no. This is kind of be like a cake, because you just coat your pan with on the bottom, and then you have to save some of the crumble for the top.
And when I make crumble like this, I just put it on the top. I don't put it on the bottom as well. So there's just different ways that you can make it. And you can see like the ingredients aren't like super precise, so like don't get caught up if you don't, you know, follow this exactly or whatever, like it's fine. And you can use, like one time he put apples in here, apples, rhubarb, and berries. One time someone gave us some plums and he put plums in here as well. So you can literally use anything. All right. So do you want all of these dumped in there?
Yes.
Okay, ready? So this is just a little like 8x8 square baking pan, and depending on like how much berries you have, that you know will depend on the size of your pan. So we'll just, oh, do you want to move that? So we'll just dump all of these in here. See all that yummy, all the yummy berries and rhubarb. Okay.
Then you use the leftover top, put on the top.
And then this will bake for how long?
About an hour.
So we'll show you, we'll get to show you at the end. That's why we wanted to start with this first so we can get it into the oven. All right, so you just kind of evenly distribute this on the top. The butter will melt. Okay, awesome. So do you want to get that in the oven? And then while he's putting that in the oven and getting the meat out, I'm going to make a barbecue sauce that we're going to use for the sliders. So he's making elk sliders. And years ago, we started making sliders like for our own dinners, and then when we had company over, because when we made like big hamburgers, we found that a lot of them like went to waste because people would get full. So we just started doing smaller sliders. And then to make it even more healthier, usually we don't use buns, we'll just like use the meat. And today he's mixing it with pine nuts too. But I wanted to make the barbecue sauce that we're gonna put on the sliders. And again, today is everything from the garden. So we're using blackberries. These are just like fresh, oops. Sorry, I just realized the camera wasn't there. Shailene is our camera person today, so thanks, Shailene. She's busy multitasking. So these are fresh picked blackberries. Like, these are one of my favorites. And I was trying to like figure out how to describe blackberries. They're kind of like this earthy, sweet smell. That's like the best description I can come up with. So this is like a cup of blackberries. So I'll put those in there. And then these are some of the boysenberries that were frozen. And so I'm going to use about a cup of these as well. And see the juice in there from because they were frozen and then unthawed. And it's this juice that I also put over in this jar that I'm going to use for the salad dressing later. So I'm going to put these in here as well. So that's blackberries and boysenberries, about 2 cups. And then I have like a cup of orange juice. So this is gonna add like a citrusy flavor. And then I'm adding about a half a cup of onions. And these are onions from the garden as well. So I'm gonna throw those in there. And then just for a little bit of heat, I don't like hot sauce and stuff like that. I'm just like a super wimp, but everybody else does. So I'm gonna add a little bit of jalapeno. This is like 1 jalapeno, and I took all the seeds out. So this is a jalapeno just to offer a little bit of a kick.
Are you
and then, use this? Oh no, you can use it. So then the recipe that I'm using, I'm also gonna add some Worcestershire sauce. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. We were all trying to pronounce it before the show, but it's this stuff. Worcestershire sauce. So when I got it out of the fridge, I realized like there was barely any in it for what I needed. So I'm just gonna pour. There's probably like I needed like a quarter of a cup, and there was probably only like a tablespoon in there. But do we have more? He's gonna check if we have more. But I'm gonna
ask and you shall
receive. Oh my gosh, we do have more. Okay, thank you. Will to the rescue. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the Worcestershire sauce, however you say that, to the recipe. So this is gonna add like the tang, like some tanginess to it, and just kind of bring out the more depth of the flavors. So I'm gonna add about that much, and then to sweeten it and to enhance the natural sweetness and to counter like the peppers and stuff, I'm gonna put about a quarter of a cup of honey in there. So the honey will be the sweetener, and then this is it. And then I'm gonna put it on the stove and cook it. And by the time the sliders are done, the barbecue sauce will be done. So I'm gonna put this on the stove. All right. So I'll just kind of stir that occasionally. Okay. Jillene, you gotta get the camera keeps going. We keep losing you. So if you wanna go back to Will. So now Will is just making a small batch of sliders that I talked about earlier. So what did you add so far?
I added onions and the pine nuts, and if you have them, you can add, if you're a craisin fan, the dried cranberries or also raisins. Either one of those would be very, very good in here. At our camp, we made it. And it's always good to add stuff like when people show up unexpectedly for dinner, because you can, you plan to get out so much that your family's going to use, and all of a sudden you get guests, then you can just add more to your meat stuff, and then helps it go a lot further too. So another good trick to have.
And so today, like we said, we're trying to make everything from the garden. The pine nuts actually come from Costco, but they're a traditional food, right? So we were talking about that earlier, like all the tribes that pick and use pine nuts. So we're paying homage to the high desert people. So, and we're also trying to make these recipes as healthy as possible too. So mixing the pine nut and then the onion from the garden, and then he has some seasonings that he added in there as well. So he's just mixing it up. This is elk burger that that these guys hunted and we harvested and made ourselves.
And processed,
processed ourselves. And so, I don't know, a few months ago we did another cooking show and we showed a video about how they process the meat. And it reminds me of this beautiful necklace that I'm wearing. That burger came from this elk right here. No, just kidding. I don't know if it's that specific, but before the show, Shaylene's like, okay, we're getting ready, we gotta go on. I said, wait, are my teeth straight? I meant these teeth on my necklace. So this is a beautiful, I've been collecting, these guys have been gifting me with the elk teeth that they save after they get it out. So this is like probably 10 years worth of teeth that I've been saving. I'm gonna make the earrings this coming weekend, and I still have like 10 left. I've been saving them for a dress. And then I thought, well, why don't I make a necklace, and then later I can always take this apart and use it for something else. And so it was just a really nice healing experience for me this past weekend, sorting my beads and figuring it out and all of that. So it was pretty awesome. Okay, so what are you doing now?
We're going to make the patties and put them on here.
Okay, so he's going to make the patties and get them on. We'll just cook them inside because our grill isn't set up right now. We usually cook them outside on the grill. He mentioned our summer youth camps. When we have our summer youth camps, we try to eat as traditionally as we can and as healthy as we can. And this is one of the things that we make.
And it went over really, really surprisingly well with, because whenever you feed kids, because kids are so picky, especially the teenage years, but it went over so well. I was so surprised, and pleasantly surprised, and like Jillene said, we try to do it as traditionally as possible, and because a lot of people, live in suburbia, and we don't get to practice our culture as much, and with me being a cancer patient, I always tell the story of blood memory, and I believe in that. And I was in the hospital and not able to keep nothing down with my first bout of cancer, and somebody came in. One of the, long story short, I had a super nose at the time.
A bionic nose, like he could smell anything a mile away.
But somebody came in and I could smell, I could smell that they had fish that was cooked by the open fire, and I said, who's got fish that was cooked by the fire? And they like was looking shocked. Their mouth hit the floor, and they go, wow, I brought some leftovers in my pocket. Anybody would know. But I grabbed it from them and I ate it, and then somebody else came in with some razor clams that I could smell those. I ate those. And the doctor says, the doctor was killing me that it was just going to make me worse because I haven't had any solid food for so long. And I go, well, we tried it your way. This is my way. This is my medicine. And they stayed down. So.
Awesome. I love that. I love that story. So the second time he had cancer, because he's a 2-time champion, we knew that his traditional foods were going to be a part of his medicine. And just like today, they're part of our medicine today. So the next thing, while he's finishing the sliders, and we'll get those on, also from the garden, we're just going to make a dish of zucchini, corn, and onions. So all from the garden, and then we're going to add some sage. This is like cooking sage, and some fresh thyme. These were also grown from the garden. And then not from the garden, but from the pantry, I'm going to add a little bit of paprika at the end. So I just turn my burner on and put some coconut oil in there. That also adds a nice flavor. And then I'm simply going to dice up the zucchini, and I just like cut it in half, and then I just cut it in lengths like this. Literally, you can cut it any way. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to cut them in like bite-sized pieces. So I'm just going to dice these up. We have lots of zucchini, and we were gifted some, and then from the garden from my folks. So what we usually do, we love zucchini, so we'll have it every which way. And then we also grate it, and then put it in a freezer bag, and then put it in the freezer. So, like I said, we have like lots of freezers, and so we'll grate it and use it later for zucchini bread. We'll make some bomb zucchini bread, and he'll put blueberries in it, also from the freezer that we pick. We'll save it like for soups. We'll put it in like spaghetti sauce and things like that. So you can also grate it and freeze it. That's an easy way. And then you can also, I was going to do it today, but I decided to do the berries instead. You can cook it and then blend it, and then make a vinaigrette out of that, out of the cooked and blended zucchini. So that's another way that you can use it. We also like to just cut it and fry it, like with salt and pepper or other seasonings. You can also like slice it thin, and then dip it in like egg and flour and fry it that way. Those are really good.
What was that thing you do with the tomatoes too? What was that? The other kind of flour, the corn, what am I trying to say? When you do the green fried tomatoes.
Oh yeah, corn. I forgot what
Not cornstarch.
Corn flour?
Or it's that grittier stuff anyway, to make it extra crunchier and stuff.
Cornmeal.
Cornmeal, there we go. Put our heads together, we come up with it.
Gosh, COVID brain. We're calling it COVID brain. Okay, so
your stuff is going over.
Oh yeah, well it has to get thick. So he's turning down the barbecue sauce. So it's really juicy because of all the stuff I put in there. But the longer you cook it, it's gonna start to thicken, like a barbecue sauce. So we just turned it down a little bit. Okay, so this is a whole zucchini, and it wasn't like one of those massive zucchinis, but we're gonna put that in the pan so it can start cooking. So while that's going, then I'll take, so this is the onion from the garden. I'm going to add that last because onions cook fast. So this is just the corn that I'm going to cut from the cob. Alright, so we grew up with gardens, and I was telling my kids the story. This one year, we planted like an acre of corn, and or it seemed like more. It seemed like 10 acres, but it wasn't that much. Anyway, my dad had this great big 5-gallon bucket of corn seed, and we had a whole assembly line going. Like my dad would make the row, one of the kids would have the back of the rake, putting the hole in the dirt. The next person would be putting the seed in. My dad said, put like 3 seeds per hole. Then the next kid would cover up the hole. Then the next kid would be watering the hole. So it's hot out and we're going along, and the seeds aren't going anywhere. It just seems like the bucket is still so full of seeds. So pretty soon we're putting 5 seeds in every hole, and pretty soon we're putting like 10 seeds per hole. We get to the end of the row, we're like throwing seeds out in the bushes, like trying to get rid of these seeds. So I always, when I think of corn, that's what I think of. So see how easy that was? I literally just cut them off the cob. And I'm going to add that to the zucchini. I got them. Confused and stir that up. So we'll get that stirred up. And then while that is cooking, because the zucchini and corn are going to take a little bit longer, the steam from the pan will help to cook the corn. And then we're going to save these for the compost pile. So compost like helps us to think about next year's garden, right? Because it's going to help to fertilize the soil. And you always want dark soil for your garden. So that's what that's for, our compost. Okay, so I'm going to use this whole onion. If you also have garlic from the garden, you can add garlic to this dish too. We have garlic, but it takes too long for a cooking show, so I'm not going to add it. So I'm just going to dice the onion. Last time I was making somebody nervous by cutting, but I am paying attention here. So you're just cutting the onions. I guess it's called dicing them up. And then we'll put those in next. And then the last thing that we're going to add is the thyme and the sage and then the paprika. That will be the last thing that we'll add once they start to cook. So let's dice this up. We love onions. We use onions a lot in our cooking, mostly cooked onions. So I will add this and get all of it in here. Add this to the mixture. All right, just gonna stir that up. Okay, so these are the herbs that we're adding in. This is how thyme grows. So you can also buy thyme that's in, a thing like this that's been dried and like pulverized. This is the fresh thyme. So it has like these little leaves off of the stalk, and then you're just gonna like take them off the stalk, and they just come off very easily. And then you don't use this part, that can go in the compost. So you're just gonna take all the thyme off like that. This is the only time you can control thyme, right? So take all the little things off the thyme. And then for the sage, so there's all kinds of sages. There's like over 30 kind of sage. And of course, we're not going to smudge with this. This is like the kind of sage that you can eat. So it smells really good. It has like, what does it smell like? It smells like sage.
Smells like sage.
I don't know how else to describe it. I was trying to think of something, but you can cut off the little ends like that, and then just use this fresh part. And I'm actually gonna just cut these in half, the sage. So I'm just cutting off the little stem part, and then I'll cut the big ones in thirds. But the sage together with the thyme and then the little paprika that I'm gonna add, like, is super good seasonings together. And this same combination, sometimes I'll put corn, like when we grill corn on the grill, and I'll use the dried ingredients and put that on the corn, like that. These flavors together are like really good. And one thing that I've learned about cooking is like paying attention to like the flavors, right? That's important because people want to eat good food, right? And the food is good based on the flavor. So do you want to get those going?
Yeah. I just put a little bit of coconut oil on my pan and letting it melt and getting the pan hot.
So we're also using cast iron pans. This is like the healthier version than you probably heard about, you know, other cooking pans that aren't always good for you. So all of our pans you see here are cast iron. And these little dribble ones that he's using, of course, these are like good for pancakes or eggs or for really quesadillas, like anything that you want to make. We have like 2 of those. Oh, can you give my barbecue sauce a stir, please?
Yeah.
And then you can see the barbecue sauce that's cooking away over there. The berries are getting more juicier.
Ooh, smells good.
Yeah, if we had smell-o-vision in here, your mouth would be watering. Last time I made a joke about, oh, did you get the app did you download the app where you can scratch and sniff? Like, so I got a message later. Somebody thought I was serious. They were asking me about the app. It's like, I was just joking. There's really not an app to do that. So I'm still peeling off the thyme. And I'm going to put a lot of thyme in there because it tastes good. And it smells really good. So thyme is kind of related to the sage family. I mean, I don't really know if it is, but it smells like it is. Super good. And when they're combined together, like I said, so you want to make sure that we get all the little stems out because those are hard to eat. So I'm going to mix these together. I'm going to add a little bit more sage. Shadron went and picked, this is fresh picked sage from this morning from our little garden here. And our blackberries, you know, blackberries are, they're natural, what's the word? They're indigenous to Oregon. This is where we live in Oregon. But they're also invasive. So blackberries were brought here, and then there's some that are natural to here too. And so we actually have, right on the side of our house, they grow wild and crazy. A lot of people, you know, try to get rid of them because they grow and they take over everything. But we just let ours grow on the side of the hill because we like them. We like blackberries. So I'm going to check my veggies. So when your onions kind of get translucent, then you know that probably everything else is getting done as well. I'm just going to give it one more stir. And then I'm going to add my herbs. Is it herbs or herbs? What do you say? Okay, so I'm going to add these on top. That smells like so good. And then I'm going to just use a few shakes of the paprika. This also adds a nice color to it. A little bit like that. And it gives a little kick as well. So I'm going to stir that up and then turn it off. And then as the thyme and the sage are cooking, those flavors will release more into the dish as well. So Jillene, you want to come get a shot of this now? So you can see the nice color of the paprika. You can see the onions are getting translucent. That's how you like clear. You can see through them. That's how you know that the onions are done. The zucchini is kind of the same, like it's starting to get translucent or a little bit more clear, and that's how you can tell it's done as well. And then you can see the sliders. Look how yummy those look with the pine nuts. So I'm actually going to turn this off, and then you can see the barbecue sauce. You want to stir it real quick? And you can see how it's thickening, and then we'll put that over the sliders when it's done. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple more things for our meal. Actually, I'm going to show you this. This is not a part of our meal, but I wanted to show it to you. So out in our back, we have 2 great big lavender plants. And so, and they smell really good. We know that lavender is used for all kinds of things, to calm you, to relax you, to help you sleep, rest, things like that. I have a little diffuser. We have a little diffuser in our room. that we put water in it, and then we drop like some lavender oils or other different kind of oils, and then it just like makes our room smell nice. But this actually is for one of my aunts, my Aunt B. So if anybody is listening, you can show her or tell her. So she's been having like skin stuff going on, and so this is about 2 weeks it's been in this jar now. But we picked our lavender and we dried it, and then I took all of the lavender off of the stem. Like, this smells like super good. And so I had like probably 6 bags full. This is one, I got a couple more left, so I'm gonna make another jar. But I got jojoba oil. This is what this is, jojoba oil, and also some vitamin E oil. And I filled up the jar with the lavender to the top. And then I poured in the jojoba oil and the vitamin E oil, and I'm gonna let it sit in here for like 6 weeks. And so I have like a month to go. And then the lavender infuses with the oil, and then at the end I'll strain it so just the oil is left. And then it'll be lavender infused oil. I'm gonna send some to my auntie so she can use it on her skin, because jojoba oil, the vitamin E oil is really good for our skin, and then the added lavender. So I just wanted to share that too. I'm gonna probably make this today. When you before you put it in there, I put the lavender out in a bowl, and then I just used a jar, but I crushed up the lavender to like make it open, so the oils are more prone to infuse with the oil, the jojoba oil. All right, so I just wanted to show you that because it's also from the garden. So next, if Jillene wants to come over here. So I'm just going to make a simple salad also from the garden. And so I have, this was gifted to us by our friends Lucas and Aaron the other day, a couple days ago. And this is from their garden. So that's the awesome thing about gardens, is that we can gift things to other people. And so the first thing I'm going to make is the salad dressing. And so I just use a full jar so I can put the lid on it and shake it up. So this is the berry juice from the berries that I talked about earlier. And this is like a couple tablespoons maybe. And then I also have some I also have some fresh basil. This is also from the garden. Okay, so I'm just going to dice up the basil because I'm going to add the basil to the salad dressing. And so I'm going to cut this up really fine because it will be in the salad dressing. And then this is going to be like the only herb that I'm going to add to the salad dressing. So I'm going to dice this up real fine. And then so the thing about salad dressing is, I mean, you can follow a recipe, and sometimes like when you use a recipe for so long, then you can just kind of make up your own, or, you know, kind of make it like it. This one, I'm just like making it up based on my past experiences with salad dressings. Okay, so I diced that up. This is the basil, and basil, it smells really good. I don't know how to describe it, but it smells good. So I'm going to add the basil to the berries. Now with this one, I'm not using the whole berries, remember? I'm just using the juice of the berries. If I was going to use the whole berry, I would use a blender to like blend it all up. So the berries and basil. To that, I'm going to add some rice vinegar. And I'm probably just going to add like a couple tablespoons of rice vinegar. And then I have some olive oil, and I'm probably going to add like 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of vinegar. And then Jillene, can you like put that salt over here? I'm going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. So this, you know, I always like things that remind me of things or experiences, and so this little salt container, I didn't even take the sticker off yet. But the top says Maui. So last year in May, the end of April, beginning of May, Jillene and Shadra and Will and I and our friend Robert, we went to Maui to celebrate Will's cancer-free status. And so we went to Maui, and I've always wanted one of these little salt things, and so I bought myself one in Maui. So this reminds me of it, like when we're cooking or when I see it, it reminds us of our trip. So I have some cool sea salt in here. Actually, I think this is salt that I got in Hawaii. So I'm going to add that to it. And then the pepper, Shilene, if you want to hand me the pepper. Thank you. Shalene's actually wearing one of her shirts that we got in Hawaii. So I'm just going to grind a little bit of pepper in here, just a few little tweaks. Sometimes people will add sugar to their vinaigrettes. I usually don't, just because, again, like the natural sweetness of the berry juice. And then you simply just shake it. Like you just shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. And there's your dressing. Isn't that awesome? So with the salad, I'm not adding a lot to the salad because I want the natural flavors of everything that I'm putting in it to shine. And then I want the berries. These are fresh picked blackberries, like picked 45 minutes ago probably. Shazer went and picked some on the side of the house. So I'm using this awesome bowl. I used this on our last cooking show too. This was a gift at a giveaway that we got. So we're using the spinach, and for now, I'm just going to cut off the leaves. This will go into the compost. We'll just throw those over there. And I'm just going to give them a rough little chop. This will be for our salad. And throw those in the bowl. Usually, I don't really cut the broccoli. No, broccoli, is that what this is? Oh, spinach, I meant. Spinach is not broccoli. I go, wait, it's not broccoli. This is spinach. Usually I don't cut it, but for whatever reason today I am. Okay, so that's some spinach. Get that straight. And then there's different kinds of kale that is here. So here's like some purple kale. You can see the purple stem there. So with kale, that stem is like really thick, and so I always take the stem out and don't use the stem for kale. So that's the stem. That will go into the compost. And I am going to dice up the kale, and I'm going to kind of dice it up a little bit smaller because kale, all different kind of kales, are more hardier. They're not like other lettuces. They're more hardier. So the smaller the cut is, then the better it is to chew through. And then here's another kind of kale. And again, see this thick stem? So I'm going to tear the stem off. I think in one of our last shows we had, I made kale chips. I think, I can't remember if I did, but I made these kale chips, and it was like taking the kale, this hardier kale, put it on a cookie sheet, putting a little bit of olive oil on there, and then stone ground mustard, and sprinkling a little bit on, and then baking it for a little bit. That is like yummy. And what I was explaining last time is, with cooking, I like to experiment, and Will and I really don't use recipes unless we're like baking. And then we just make up our own recipes. Or, like I said, we'll take a recipe and then kind of make it our own. So when I go places and I eat something good, then I go home and I try to make it. I try to recreate it. Okay, so here's a different kind of kale. We'll add this one as well. So we'll take the kale off the stem. So with kale, if you have like this abundance of kale and you can't eat it fast enough, you can always bake it and crunch it all up and put it into a jar. And you can put seasoning on it before you bake it, and then that itself becomes a seasoning. So you can crunch it all up, put it in a jar, and then use it as a seasoning. So you can put it on salads, you can add it to, spaghetti sauce, like whatever. So that's another way if you have like an abundance of kale. So just gonna throw that in there.
Put it in your smoothies.
Oh yeah, put it in your smoothies. Okay, so I'm trying to watch the time here. I'll do a little bit more kale actually. So put a little bit more kale in here. The kids like it when we do the cooking shows because it means we're gonna have a good lunch today. So we're gonna have a good lunch. My folks like it when we do cooking shows because it means they're gonna have a good dinner. So mom and dad, this is what you'll be getting later. We will deliver. All right. So smaller than bite-sized kale. That will go in there. Okay. Now to this salad, just kind of mix it up with my hands. For my family, we usually make bigger bowls because there's so many of us, but I'm gonna make a small version. So to this, I was gonna add pine nuts, but Will was already added pine nuts to the sliders. So instead, I'm using pecans. So pecans are also a traditional food. And usually what I would do because these are mainly whole pecans, I would just give them a rough chop, just to kind of cut them in half or quarters or whatever. So just give them a rough chop like that. This also helps to release some of the oils. If I was going to toast them, it would release more of the oils that are in the pecans. And usually I do roast them, but today I'm not because we're busy over there. So look at the beautiful kale. Look at that purple kale. Look at this beautiful spinach, all from the garden. That's awesome. So I always like crunch. And that's another thing to think about when we're cooking is like the textures of things, right? And that's really important. And especially with young kids, like when they're just beginning to eat and learn about all this kind of stuff, like texture is important as well. So we have the salad, of course, which is kind of soft. And then we're going to add the crunch factor, the pecans. So I'm just going to add these to the salad. And I like a lot of crunch in mine, so I'm going to add them all to the salad. So those are sprinkled on top. And then I'm going to add the blackberries. So these are the blackberries again that were just picked. I'm just going to sprinkle those on. I love blackberries. They're so good. And that's it. That's all I'm going to add to my salad. Sometimes like to the berry, like we use berries a lot in our salads. And I'll also add like shredded carrots maybe, or even a diced up apple, you know, so it just kind of depends. And just like with the sliders, Will talked about like adding the filler, like if you have more people, like adding the pine nuts or, you know, adding different things like that. You can do the same with salad. Like if you're making a salad and you only have like this much spinach, well, you can add other things to it, right? So I'm going to give this a shake again. And I'm actually not going to put the salad dressing on because I don't want it to get all wilty. But I would shake it, open it up. This smells so good. So you can smell like the vinegary smell from the vinegar. You can smell the berries and the basil. So this is going to be yummy. This is my own. It's not a raspberry vinaigrette. It's kind of like a boysenberry vinaigrette. Okay, awesome. So there's our salad. I'm just going to put that over here, the salad dressing. And I'll put these on. So the other thing I wanted to share, on one of our other shows, we made a dessert, the chocolate lava cake, and the show ended and we didn't get to show the ending of our cake. And we don't have it today either. But I did take a video of it, and I forgot about it until just now actually. But maybe on another cooking show, we'll show you the video clip of when it came out, because it came out awesome. Like, it came out and you open it up and the chocolate oozed out. So we'll do that. So before we show you and plate and show you our whole meal, I wanted to also share about the barbecue sauce that I made. So remember, it has the blackberries, the orange juice, the Worcestershire sauce, onions and jalapeno from the garden, and some honey to sweeten it. Once it cools, it'll thicken up as well, just like a regular barbecue sauce. But you can also use it for like an appetizer. And what I was going to show you, but we ate the crackers yesterday. But I was going to put some cream cheese on it, like a little chunk of cream cheese on a plate. And then you put the barbecue sauce over, the cooled barbecue sauce over the cream cheese. And then you just put crackers on it. And then that becomes a dip. It's like awesome. So you can make a lot of dips like that. And it's simple, right? So I wanted to share that, how we could use it as well. So Shailene is putting together a plate. And as soon as she's done, she'll show you the final. Go ahead, keep going, Shailene. She'll show you what the final meal looks like. And then after the show ends, we're all going to pick out and have an awesome lunch. So I also want to show you Will and I's shirts. So his shirt that says shift happens. And then mine says healing is a verb. Kind of, you can't see it very well. And then we have a whole bunch of other shirts. We have one that's we call Grandma Up. And we have one where healing people heal people. And I think we have a couple of others. Ancestral Love, and then we have one that says Party Like It's 1491, and then we have our Indigenous 20-something Project t-shirts. So we're getting ready right now, and we're going to start launching those on our website to sell them. So if you're interested in our shirts, you can check out our website like in the next few days or by next week certainly. We're selling them for $25 and then a $3 shipping and handling fee. So it's like 28 bucks for one of these shirts. And all the proceeds go directly back into our programming for the power hours. So the yeah, the power hours, like I said, are our response to the pandemic, and we didn't really have an ending date in mind because we've never been in a pandemic before, and we didn't know how long this was going to last. But here we are in week 23 already, and our goal is just to keep going, and so we're just gonna keep going. So we are now going to go down the line. Shannon's going to go down the line and she's going to show you the meal. So we have the blackberry barbecue sauce with onion and jalapeno. And then we have the elk burger sliders, and it has onions from the garden, and it also has pine nuts. And then we have, I don't even know what this is called, but it's just zucchini, corn, and onions, and that's all from the garden with thyme and sage, also from the garden, and then paprika spice from the pantry. And then we have our salad also from the garden, so we have spinach, a couple of kinds of kale, fresh picked blackberries from the side of our house, and then pecans. And then the final dish, this is what it looks like, this awesome lunch. And this beautiful plate, I want to give a shout out to Acacia Red Elk and Red Elk Studios, which is her business, and her mother make these beautiful dishes sets. So several years ago, I got a tax refund, and I said I'm going to buy myself something awesome, and I bought myself these dishes sets. So shout out to Acacia for this beautiful set. And we use them, like, we don't just save them for special things, like we use them all the time. So, because we're special.
All of our meals are special.
Yeah. So the crisp is not done yet, but Will's gonna go ahead and take it out of the oven just to show you what it will be like, and that will be the dessert for our awesome meal right here. He'll take it out of the oven, kind of a janky oven, but we are planning to get a new one. So this is the yummy.
Smells super delicious.
Yes, I wish there really was smell-o-vision. Oh yeah, it looks pretty done. So if you check this out, look, you can see how the rhubarb and how the berries have bubbled up. You can see how it's, well, I don't want to touch it because it's hot. But how it thickened up as well, remember, because we put that thickening in there. So you have this crust on the bottom and on the top. So that will be our dessert for our yummy lunch today. So we want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank you if you cooked along with us, or maybe you'll try this tonight or a version of it. Of course, if you don't have elk burger, you can use any kind of burger.
Bison burger.
Yeah, bison burger or
organic beef.
Yeah.
Grass-fed beef, not desert stuff.
Yeah, just a healthier meat. And the thing about the sliders, like, because we process our own meat, this has like 4% fat, so it's super lean, which is really good. Which is also why the sauce is really good too, and just making it a little bit more moist. So again, this is our Native Wellness Power Hour. We're on week 23. We have an awesome lineup for the rest of the week on topics on voting and walking in balance in a good way. And I'm back on Friday, so I forgot. I'm doing a part 2. The week before last, I did a part 1 on my thoughts on parenting, and I didn't even get through everything, so now I'm doing a part 2. So that will be on Friday, part 2 on parenting, so please tune in then. Please share these live feeds with your families and friends, because this is what it's for. It's like just to provide uplifting messaging, especially during this time. We also want to remind people to do your census if you haven't already. It's super important that we be counted because for so long we were erased. So it's important for us to be counted, and critical funding for our communities, whether we're in urban communities or tribal communities, are tied to the census. So please fill out your census and be counted. We also need to see like our numbers and like how many of us are, and not just go by the census. So fill out your census and then register to vote. Like, it's going to be super, super important. Like, probably one of the most critical election years in history. So please, if you're not registered to vote, register to vote. Tell your family and friends to register to vote and then vote. And then lastly, we want to remind everyone that we are still in a pandemic and that it's real, right? And it's impacting our communities heavily. Like, people are dying and people are in the hospital, like right now as we speak, fighting for their life. So be safe. Like, it's almost like we have to assume that everybody has it, and then that might make us wear a mask more often, or practice social distancing, or stay home if we can. So be safe. Do you have any final?
Stay safe, wear your mask, wear your gloves, and just practice that social distancing, 6 feet apart. We'll get through this.
Awesome. All right. Have an awesome day. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go eat now. Bye.